It's finally here, guys, the Season 3 patch notes, and it's a big one. So I'm going to do my best to summarize all this up, let you know all the important things, and get you guys in the ring as soon as possible. So if you found this video informative, please smash that like button. It helps this channel out more than you can imagine, and it also makes me feel pretty good about waking up at 4 in the morning. Also, subscribe for all things the finals. Let's jump into it. Alright guys, first things first, we're going to go over the World Tour, which I'm sure you already heard of, but for those of you that didn't, this will be a cash out tournament that consists of 24 players in a 2 to 3 week tournament cycle. The top 5 people that decide to never touch grass again will be on the front page of the World Tour. The first stop to the World Tour will be the Ngimo Open. Definitely butchered that. And this tournament will span across 3 maps, the new Kyoto map included. Next, we have an explanation of the new ranked terminal attack and how they revamped the system, as well as how you can track your progress a lot easier this time. So in this battle pass, which I'll include at the end of this video, if some of you haven't already seen it, comes with 96 rewards, 26 that are free, with 1,575 multi-bucks to be unlocked in total, and more for those that went over. That translates to 2 more pages of rewards, which is pretty awesome. These bonus rewards can only be earned by XP, and also all these cosmetics are inspired by Japanese pop culture. The new weapons are also here. The recurved bow for light. This is a medium to long range weapon that does more damage the further back your string is pulled. The dual blades for medium. This weapon has a fast primary attack, which is a multi-strike combo with a wide reach. It can also minimize damage by deflecting bullets back at the opponent if they are in your line of sight. And the spear for heavy. This weapon's primary attack is a long range stab, and it also can be spun to cover up a wider area. So it's faster than Sledgehammer, but does less damage. Alright, the new gadget is for light, called the Thermal Bore. This is a long-range, high cooldown breach gadget that can be used to breach walls and create a line of sight to the enemies at range. Up next, we have the Winch Claw, almost said wench. Not gonna lie, but yeah, this badass specialization for heavy allows you to kill Sub-Zero and avenge your family. Just kidding, of course. It actually launches a chain and pulls enemies and objects towards you, and by objects, yes, I do mean cash outs. When you grapple onto a target, they will also be stunned, which makes it a dream come true for Sledgehammer, Spear, and Shotgun users. Next up here, we have a brand new career circuit. I'm sure we already know what this is all about, and all the sweet rewards that it comes with. Moving on, they're introducing text chat. However, it's in its early stages, so try your best not to use terms of endearment such as and remember, be classy and kind, boys. Anyhow, onto the meat and potatoes. Light is finally getting a massive buff that we've all been asking for, decreasing the health generation from 10 to 7 seconds, which may seem like a small amount, but that is absolutely massive when live in game and will make a huge difference. There's a dev note here that states that the dynamic of terminal attack mode with its limited health regeneration up to 100 HP means that Light's weapons can be very effective in later rounds. For that reason, we chose not to extend these new health regeneration rules to terminal attack for now. However, they'll be monitoring the changes very closely and will make adjustments if needed later down the line. Alright, we're going to move on to medium. With its decrease in health regeneration delay from 10 to 9 seconds, that's also pretty massive, being that their regen will start sooner, just like the lights will. This may be too early to say, but I don't necessarily think that medium needed that health regeneration. The same rules for light also apply for medium, in that the health regeneration rules do not apply in terminal attack. The Healy Beam has been replaced with the Guardian Turret as the default medium specialization, and the Defib has been replaced with the Glitch Trap as one of the default medium gadgets. The devs note, as terminal attack becomes the main ranked mode, they want to make sure that all new players has a loadout that could work universally. However, the healing focus items are still available. Moving on to specializations. First, we have the Goo Gun. Now getting hit by goo will block movement specializations such as evasive dash, but charge and slam will be unaffected. The Winch Claw has already received a nerf, decreasing its max range from 20 to 17 meters, so I don't get my salad toss when I try to make my way to a terminal. They increased the cooldown with missing targets from 6 to 7 seconds, as well as increasing the cooldown when hitting players, cash out stations, or terminals from 12 seconds to 14 seconds. While in the playtest, I do admit it felt a little bit strong, so I think this is a good change. That won't make the new specialization useless, but make its potency a little bit more reasonable. Now moving on to gadgets, Breach and Charge got a buff, increasing its ammo count from 1 to 2, however with an increased cooldown from 15 to 26 seconds. But you have to take into consideration the cooldown is meant for 2 charges, not for 1, effectively making each breach charge cooldown 13 seconds, and decrease the damage from 200 to 80, which is pretty fair in my opinion. The data reshaper got a buff as well. It has an increased count from 1 to 2, and just like the breach charge, has its cooldown increased from 15 to 26 seconds. So we can all change our favorite houseplant into a lawn chair. Let's go! But all jokes aside, I can see this being very effective in terminal attack, being that when you're on the offensive, you're going to come to find that entering either one of the points is going to be extremely hard, with turrets and mines all over the place. So terminal attack actually gives this gadget some great utility. Next, we have a gas grenade, getting a buff with an increased radius from 4.5 to 5 meters. Glitch trap got a rework. It will no longer be a proximity detonation device, and detonate when it has a line of sight application. So if an enemy stands within range and is in line of sight of the trap, it will attach a tether to them. These players will have a glitch effect applied to them, preventing them from using specializations and gadgets and disrupting their HUD. Now, in order to prevent this from happening, the player needs to break the line of sight of the trap, destroy it, or get out of its range. Goo grenade got a buff as well. The wall it creates has been increased from 2x4 to 2x6. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm loving the amount of buffs right now, and this is definitely the right way to go. It kind of reminds me of the beta, when everything was powerful and felt very good. Hopefully we see the same trend when it comes to the weapons. The Guardian turret, which is definitely not a gadget, but tomato, has gotten a change that we've all been asking for. The cooldown regeneration on the Guardian turret now starts when the turret is destroyed, not when it is deployed. It also added the ability for players to remotely destroy their Guardian turret, allowing them to trigger the cooldown if they're not nearby. This is done by equipping specializations and holding an interaction for a brief duration. Now, I want to stop right here and say that if there's anybody out there spouting off bullshit like these devs aren't listening, blah blah blah, they don't care, this is now the second thing that the community has asked for. The first being the health regen for light, and has received. So can we just cut the bullshit please and let these devs cook? Anyhow, moving on to the motion sensor, which got a rework. It no longer sends out pulses at regular intervals for detection. Instead, it has now the same line of sight application as the glitch trap. If a player stands within range and is in line of sight of the device, the sensor will attach a tether to them. The tether will be scanned by the motion sensor, allowing friendly players to see through the walls. Players will need to break line of sight to the sensor or destroy it to remove the scanning effects. I'm gonna say it right now, this as well as the glitch trap will be a staple in both terminal attack as well as cash out. I highly recommend that you guys add this into your arsenal and get used to their applications. Smoke grenade gets a buff, with its ammo count increased from 2 to 3, with an increased cooldown from 45 to 50 seconds. Just remember that this cooldown is not meant just for 2, but 3 counts. So you're adding an additional 5 seconds for one whole smoke grenade. The sonar grenade got a buff with an increased detection radius from 10 to 15 meters. That is huge. Wow. Next, we have a stun gun with another request that the players have been asking for. Players are now unable to use specializations while glitch status is applied. So when you stun a heavy, they may be able to RPG you, but those puss boys won't be putting up a mesh shield anytime soon. Let's just hope that they completely forget the dome shield exists. Now we're moving on to the weapons. Hopefully we see the same trend of buffs that the gadgets received. First up, we have the 93R, receiving, drumroll please, a buff with an updated recoil pattern, making this weapon easier to control and hopefully making headshots easier as well. The devs note that they've made changes to increase the viability of the 93R. They wanted to make it considerably more precise, but lowered the DPS to offset that. Our aim is to make the weapon more effective when using precise aim and going for headshots, and we'll continue to observe its performance following these changes. And with that being said, they decreased the fire rate from 260 RPM to 210 RPM. So I think this is a good change, because I felt like the 93R was similar to the LH1, be that when you fired it as fast as you can, the gun became uncontrollable and unmanageable. This puts a cap on that to ensure you're always firing at the right rhythm and hitting shots rather than wasting them. They decreased the automatic recoil recovery duration from 0.72 to 0.7 seconds. This is to make the weapon easier to control. They increased the damage fall off start distance from 15 meters to 23 meters, meaning that the weapon will do max damage at longer ranges now. They increased the damage fall off max distance from 22 meters to 35 meters. This increases the range before damage fall off is fully applied. Both these changes right here are huge. And lastly, decrease the damage fall off multiplier at max range from 65% to 45%, meaning the weapon will do less damage at longer ranges now. So yes, you do have more range, but you're not going to be beaming anybody at far ranges like you did with the V9S and the betas. I actually like these changes for the 93R, and I'm very excited to use it in the arena, and hell, maybe even make a master class for it. Up next, the CL40 gets some changes, decreasing its damage from 110 to 93, but increasing its fire rate from 250 RPM to 275 RPM, decreased pump action duration from 0.7 seconds to 0.65 seconds, as well as a self-damage multiplier from 1 to 0.75, reducing how much damage the grenades will do to Oscar when using them. I think this is a really good change, and I appreciate that they just didn't go ahead and destroy the weapon, but made fair adjustments and balance changes. This should be a staple as to how to treat weapons when pursuing a balanced but yet fun state. Onto my favorite AR, the FAMAS, decreasing the automatic recoil recovery duration from 1 second to 0.8 seconds. Along with that, they decreased the delay before recovery begins from 0.8 seconds to 0.7 seconds. Both these changes making this weapon even easier to control than it already was. I have a masterclass video for this weapon. I'll have it linked in the comments as well as the upper right hand corner of this video. Yeah, it's time. Step aside, FCAR, the new king has arrived. The KS-23 shotgun with yet another buff, decreasing the action duration from 0.7 seconds to 0.575 seconds. We just couldn't round that up to 0.58. I love the accuracy here. I mean, I'm not complaining. The Lewis gun gets a buff, updating the recoil pattern, making this weapon easier to control for the first few bullets of the sequence, but the trade-off is that you get more recoil the longer you hold the trigger. This is a great change because it rewards the player for accuracy and punishes them for spraying and praying. Also, they decreased the damage from 25 to 22. This is also fair, being that prior to this patch, the Lewis gun had one of the best TTKs in the game. And to be quite honest, when your class has the most health, as well as a gadget that can do a large chunk of damage, it really makes sense that you can't have your cake and eat it too. Onto the LH1. It has received an updated animation which should make the weapon easier to use, decreasing the fire rate from 300 RPM to 280 RPM. This is actually really good. Just like the 93R, this will ensure that you maintain accuracy by shooting at the right rhythm. And they decrease bullet dispersion when crouching and standing still, making this weapon even more precise. Oh my god, this weapon is going to be disgusting, I'm telling you guys. Increased damage from 49 to 52. The dev note here states that the overall effective damage of the LH1 should remain roughly the same, but now it is easier to use, less nauseating, and more precise when standing still, as well as incentivizing headshots. The lower RPM should make it feel distinct and make it easier to maintain targets and sights, which is exactly what I said in my masterclass video. Please guys, check that out. You're not going to regret it. It's going to make you absolutely nasty with this weapon, I promise you. The link will also be in the description or on the upper right hand corner of the screen. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this just might topple the XP54, or at the very least give it a run for its money. The M60 got the opposite change of the Lewis gun, making the recoil harder to control during the first few bullets, but making it easier to control for the rest of the sequence. Its damage has been decreased from 22 to 19. So for those of you that want to spray and pray, say no more fam, this is meant for you. The SH-1900, or in other words, the light shotgun, has increased damage from 10 to 13 per pellet, but decreased the fire rate from 100 RPM to 80 RPM. They increased the pellet dispersion pattern, making this weapon less accurate at range. The devs note here that they wanted to make this gun more effective against heavy without making it oppressive for lights. With higher pellet dispersion, this shotgun is now optimized for very close range only, which also allowed us to buff the damage, hopefully making heavies easier to kill. This is a change that they will be monitoring very closely. So essentially they will be reverting it to how it was in Season 1, which is freaking awesome. The sledgehammer. They updated camera animations when sprinting. This will help reduce motion sickness for some players. Damn. All right. I'm reading this now. I don't even want to say it. Moving on to the throwing knives. They decreased the projectile speed of primary attacks from 16.5 meters per second to 14.75 meters per second. Decreased projectile air drag of primary attacks from 7.5 to 7, allowing projectiles to travel farther. Increased the projectile speed of secondary attack from 13.8 meters per second to 18.5 meters per second. Increased projectile air drag of secondary attacks from 4 to 5.5. This increases the speed at which the projectiles slow down. The devs note that our last balance change in the throwing knives pushed them in the right direction, but ultimately felt too powerful, changing the weapon's character too much. We have dialed down the velocity of regular projectiles so that leading your shots becomes a requirement again, but not to the same extent as before the last change. Similarly, we sped up the secondary projectiles so they become more of a long-range option with a focus on timing rather than leading. So I'm loving the buffs all across the board for a lot of the weapons, but this is something right now I'm going to have to respectfully respectfully disagree with. And it could always change, and I could be completely wrong when I actually test this out live in game. I think the potency of this weapon has been overly exaggerated on Reddit, and it is not what the weapon needed. The weapon was finally effective against top picks such as the XP54, AKM, FCAR, 1887, Lewis Gun, and M60. And to be quite frank, across all game modes from power shift to ranked, I have very rarely seen players use this weapon, and only start to see them switching to it when they get killed by it. And they still end up missing the majority of their shots, because even if they made the secondary attack longer range and faster, it's going to be challenging to hit, making the throwing knives into a novelty weapon rather than an effective one. Because why would I pick that when I could pick the LH1 or XP54 that are both hit scan and have a faster time to kill? So I guess I might be switching to those weapons now and get the same amount of kills I did with the throwing knives prior to this patch, if not more. I know I'm going to be hurting some feelings when I say this, and before saying this I'm going to say I was affected by it as well. But the only reason why the throwing knives felt powerful to those going against it is because players were now actually punished for missing their shots. They just couldn't miss half the mag and still get the kill. They had to be very accurate or they were dead. And trust me, I've won against a lot of great players, top 500 in fact, and going up against them even before this nerf with throwing knives was a death wish, because those players don't miss their shots. So yeah, I'm a little bit sad about this change, but just like I said before, this is an initial impression. After giving it a try, I might come to like it, who knows? We're just gonna have to wait and see. But you know what? I'm not that worried, because we've got another buff to the V9S with an increase to its damage from 36 to 37, so I can finally use and show off that diamond skin. Hell yeah. Overall, besides the throwing knives, I think all the changes were great, and the devs did a damn good job, not just fixing weapons by lowering their effectiveness, but bringing others up in line with the meta, and rather than nerfing meta picks to the ground, they just made adjustments. I'm absolutely loving this trend. I hope they keep this up. This game is at its best when it's chaotic, crazy, and fun, just like it was intended to be. Now, we're going to move on to carryables. The glitch barrel has a decreased radius from 6 meters to 3.5 meters. The goo barrel had its goo wall decreased in size from 2x6 to 2x4. Toxic gas barrels have a decreased radius from 5 meters to 3.5 meters. Here are some dev notes. Overall, we've seen a low use of certain gadgets when they have overlapping items available in the arena. Therefore, we are swapping some values around on arena items and gadgets to ensure the latter have a stronger effect while ensuring players can adapt to different situations, even when out of gadget charges. Well, if the only huge nerfs are only going to be for the carryables rather than the weapons and gadgets, I'll take it all day, every day. Okay. On the terminal attack. Players must now interact with the terminal in order to deliver the decryption key, because the attacking team could just easily throw it in without needing to secure the objective first. They intended for the team to first seize the area around the terminal, then start decrypting it. In exchange, they increased the distance the decryption key can now be thrown, now that it cannot be thrown into the terminal, allowing for more passing of the key, or in other words, letting a heavy with the winch claw to grab it out of the air. They've added warm-up zones to terminal attack, limiting where players can move for the first 25 seconds of the match. This will provide the defending team time to prepare. The specific combination of team and objective spawn locations and ranked terminal attack now occur in the same sequence in both halves of the match, making matches fairer. They added unique names to all terminal locations in the arenas. These are displayed when looking at the terminal and the lobby screen, which will make it a lot easier for players to call out. They added a player count notification when contestants are eliminated, icons in the arena and to the HUD to highlight eliminated teammates and their location. They added in ranked terminal attack modes with a best of 13, first to 7 format. Now this is a great change in my opinion. In ranked terminal attack, if the match starts without a full team, the game will automatically be abandoned early and players will return to the queue. This is done to ensure that games start in a good condition. Awesome change. Might not be a fan of terminal attack, but this, yeah, save a lot of heartache. It's a great change in my opinion. They added a halftime reset of destruction to ranked terminal attack mode so that both teams have the same starting conditions as their opponents when defending or attacking. Moving on to maps, they updated terminal attack spawn locations in Las Vegas, Monaco, Skyway Stadium, and Cis Horizon, as well as tweaked the power shift related spawn points inside the construction area so that players are better oriented towards the platform's path. Now I'm going to skim through content and bug fixes here and only go over the important ones to save you guys some time. You can pause the video if you want to read over the nitty-gritty details. They added 10 new career ranks with associated rewards. They made it so fire wouldn't spread indefinitely by limiting the distance to all fire sources. They added a spectator slot to private matches, which is absolutely huge for those in the esports scene. Regular terminal attack remains as a base mode. They added ranked terminal attack, a terminal attack tutorial. They added world tour mode and removed single round cash outs. So I personally am fine with this because we're getting the world tour mode, but I can see some players getting kind of upset with this removal. However, However, I ask that you guys give the World Tour a solid chance before jumping to any conclusions. Remember that these devs do listen, and you gotta give them time to register the feedback. They also disabled the Deathmatch Game Show event as it really wasn't working as intended. This next edition is freaking awesome. For the new map, they have Quick Cash, Tournaments, Bank Out, Terminal Attack, and Power Shift game modes. Let's go. I'm so freaking excited to try out Power Shift on this map. I already know it's going to be so much fun. They enable single item purchases from bundles from previous seasons. As for the UI, just like they stated before, they added text chat to the PC version of the game, as well as the addition of player cards. They added background customization, as well as badges that display your rank in the World Tour and ranked mode. So if you're an ex-Apex player like me, this is kind of familiar, and you can flex all your achievements for everyone to see. Let's just hope those achievements aren't for bank out and objective based because, yeah, your boy, yeah, I treat that like team deathmatch, I'm not gonna lie. They updated the end of round screen to include player cards and to highlight stats, added a shortcut button to the play menu for the career screen, and a cooldown for the event log when spamming pings and voice lines for all those salty teammates that decide to spam the hell of it just because they ran headfirst into a 1v3. They updated the event log messages for various types of pings. You guys can pause the video and read it if you want. Now they temporarily disabled the re-rolling of daily contracts. The devs note that they currently have a very small pool of daily contracts and felt like it was unfair for players to spend VRs to re-roll a contract to only keep getting a limited amount of options in return. We hope to introduce more contracts during the season and then re-enable re-rolls at some points when they offer more value. Alright, we already went over all the new weapons, gadgets, and specializations. On another note, they updated several equipment HUD icons, all grenades, all mines, C4, breach charge, APS turret, barricade, motion sensor, thermal vision, riot shield, and on top of that added one more progression level with the associated rewards for all weapons and gadgets. All item-based specializations such as the Guardian turret or Goo Gun also received this. And last but not least, I am so sorry for you sword mains out there, but they fixed the emote animation exploits with the sword. The dev notes, while these moves discovered by players increase the effectiveness of some melee weapons, they're ultimately exploits and ones that most players find hard to use, adding confusion to the game, especially for those on the receiving end. Since there's been many changes to melee recently, we believe the viability of melee has been increased and that exploits shouldn't be needed to compete. We'll continue to monitor how the meta develops during Season 3 and we'll listen closely to your feedback. Now, when most companies say this, I would take it as a crock of shit, but as for these devs, they've given us no reason to doubt them. Just give this some time. You sword mains out there, try it out, give some feedback on Reddit or on Discord, wherever you please, and let them know. I'm sure they'll come to a solution that we're all going to be happy with, but they need you guys to give it an honest chance so you guys can have the best feedback possible to give them to improve your experience. And we're on to security. They made updates to our aimbot detection system, and wait, there's more. In-game reporting feedback will inform players who report unfair gameplay when appropriate actions have been taken, so you and I don't feel like we're punching air when we report somebody. We can actually see a result from the action we have taken. And yes, for me personally, great satisfaction to see yet another trash can being booted from this game. Just, makes my day. Anyhow, I really hope that they continue this trend. This patch is probably the best that they have done in a while. They brought up and tweaked a lot of weapons and gadgets to not only be powerful, but more in line with one another, which is what the player base has been begging for. This will bring the game back to its roots, making it more crazy, fun, and chaotic. I know others don't share the same opinion, but this game shines most when it is in the state. Not every game needs to be a balanced sweatfest like Apex, like Valorant, like Call of Duty. This is the finals. This game is where you can come back home from a hard day, whether it be school or a full-time job like myself, kick back and genuinely have fun with your friends or even strangers, rather than stressing out over every match, like there was money on the line. Awesome changes all around. That's about all I have for you guys today. I'm dead serious when I say this update has set my passion for making content even more aflame than it already was. And I'll be honest with you guys, I'm tired as hell, but still can't wait to jump in right after posting this video. Just like I promised, I'll show you guys the battle pass at the end of this video, as well as all the new store additions. So with that being said, peace and love. I'll see you all in the arena.
stars.